Hey y'all. I love this group. I love that we're peer-to-peer so that lots of people can share information and educate people. But one of the challenges I sometimes find is that advice that's like person specific or baby specific or just age, situation, development specific sometimes gets read by the 28,000 other people in here and applied across the board. And baby wearing is about babies on bodies. Our bodies are different, our babies are different, the carriers are different. And so while there may be some general rules or general guidelines about wearing, sometimes there are things that are like general guidelines for newborns versus general guidelines for toddlers. Does your carrier still go on and buckle in all the same ways? Yeah. But are there things that might dramatically change your fit? Also yes. I'm wearing an Ergo Baby Adapt. I bought this off sale since they no longer sell the Adapt in the US, and I love them. So if you find one secondhand, they're one of my favorites. But I bought this to hoard for hopefully another baby. Since there's not another baby in there, I'm gonna use it on my demo. But one thing that I thought, hey, let me show this while I have the carrier out, is when you are a new caregiver, when you did just buy a new carrier that came in a box, you're often gonna have like these kind of weird shaped straps because they've been folded in a box. It's not wrong, it's not bad. Just remember you're gonna have to use your carrier and sort of break it in, just like when you buy a pair of jeans. So you'll see that in my adjustments. It's not because it's well or poorly adjusted, it's just because I've been hoarding this really cool carrier. And look, it's got this awesome design. Anyways, I just thought it was neat. So one of the things that I really struggle with when giving advice is with waistbands. I'm wearing a buckle carrier or a soft structured carrier, sometimes shortened to SSC, soft structured carrier. There's lots of brands who make them. Becco makes them, Lily Baby makes them, Kinderpack, Boba, Ergo, Tula, the list goes on. There's many companies who make them. They're defined with this waistband. They've got a panel, shoulder straps, chest clip. And they're really common. I often put a lot of people in them because it reminds you a little bit of wearing a backpack, so it might make baby wearing feel less like this whole new adventure and something you already have skills on. But when you use one of these carriers, because it is so defined in shape and size, you have to make adjustments to the carrier, like button adjustments and how you fold things, but sometimes you have to make some wearing adjustments too. For, I would say like 90% of people and 90% of cases, you'll put your waistband at your waist and your baby will go in there knee to knee and their head will be up here so that they can breathe and they have a free and clear airway. But there are some cases where that just doesn't work. With bodies, carrier brands make carriers to fit your average body and then have all this webbing and adjustment to fit bodies on either side of the spectrum. But when I wear, and I'm 5'9" as a reference, or when my brother wears, who is 6'5", we have to make some different adjustments because our body shapes are so different. And if I then also helped my best friend who's 5'0", between her and my brother, we're gonna have some really different adjustments for their bodies. That's not necessarily the best advice for everybody. Same as like when you walk into a shoe store, they don't only sell size 14 Nikes because there's not a lot of people my brother's size. They're gonna sell a lot of the size they're probably gonna sell a lot of it there, and then they're gonna have a smattering of all the other sizes. Carriers I kind of think of as the same way. We want this carrier to fit 90% of bodies and then adjust to fit all those other ones, but you might have a few tweaks. The other case that I find carriers don't always fit perfectly is with newborns. And that's because this carrier is made to fit from 0 to 2. And so it has to fit all these sizes and have all these adjustments. But it would be really overwhelming if there was an adjustment for like every week. So there's some general adjustments. On the waistband of this one, there's 3 different width adjustments. In 2 years, you're gonna get through all of those, but there isn't necessarily a width adjustments for today versus tomorrow versus next week's growth spurt. And you have to make some wearing adjustments for that. Same here. I can either put my hood up, I can put it down, or I can put it on the inside for a newborn. But again, there's limited adjustability because if I could adjust this 37 heights, it would be really overwhelming for me to know what the right one is. So with this Ergo Baby Adapt, I'm wearing a newborn size doll, and you can see my newborn does fit knee to knee, but my newborn's head is not clear of the panel. And so for me, this is where I make some adjustments that I'm gonna do for a newborn that we commonly see in our advice, but I might not make for a baby who's a little bit bigger, like 3-4 months. 6 months, 9 months, I don't need to make those same changes. So for my newborn, and there's pictures of this, and I have them saved, and I'll put them in the comments, I often need to eat up some of this panel height. And so what we talk about doing is adjusting the width down here and how I position baby. So I'm just gonna put my doll on the floor, remember, doll, not baby. But in order to eat up some of this panel height, what I wanna do is make my panel almost make a little bit of a J. So instead of it coming off my waistband and straight up, I want it to like come down and loop up to hold baby's butt and eat up, you know, an extra 2 or 3 inches. So, just gonna take my width here a little bit. I probably should have done this before I got on video because I'm kind of at an awkward angle. There we go. The black snap on black carrier. For me to do that, I don't want my baby like down really low. So I'm gonna raise my waistband. Remember, newborn. So yeah, my waistband is a little higher than I normally would wear it with, say, a 3-month-old, 6-month-old, 9-month-old. But I'm dealing with a short 17-inch newborn here. And then I want my carrier panel to go down a little bit more at the start and then come back up. I'm making a deeper seat. I'm hanging baby's bum a little bit past the waistband to eat up a little bit more of that height. So you can see right now, baby is like at the waistband a little bit, right? And when I bring this panel up, you'll notice it didn't come up as high on baby's back. And that's good because I don't want baby's face covered by the panel. So I can eat up some of my panel height with that deeper seat. And I can like adjust specifics, you know? I can say a little bit higher up, a little bit lower, and make some tweaks. And then, you know, do my chest clip. But you can clearly see this is a deeper seat and baby's bum is going into my waistband space. And that's okay because that's how this carrier can give me a really good fit on a 7-pound, 17-inch newborn and still fit a much older child. So we get the point. I had my baby's head too covered because I had a shallower seat that was above my waistband, but now I can adjust it to fit my newborn. Okay, so if we apply that same concept to a bigger baby, I'm gonna leave my waistband right where I adjusted it for a newborn. I'm gonna take this baby and again, I'm gonna put their body so that they're kind of at that waistband piece so that they're getting a really deep seat and then pull this up. Do you see what's happening with my carrier? You notice that this A doesn't come up as high on baby as I would want it to, right? 2, got a lot of webbing going on here. Check my chest clip. And look how close it is to my baby's leg. There's not really a gap here. And my baby looks a little slouchy. This baby is a lot bigger. It's still like a, 6 to 9 month old baby, but this is sort of the newborn height adjustment. And that's why I talk about putting my waistband at my waist. So I'm gonna take my baby down. I could just leave that waist higher when people talk about just put your waistband under your bust. But if I did that and put my baby up, my baby has a much better fit. The carrier came up higher. My baby is more supported. My waistband now has this nice gap going on so that there's a place for baby's leg. But look where baby sits on me, like I'm running into baby. And it, depending on how old your child is, at some point you're like, well, I can't see or my baby's bopping me in the mouth. And so this waist is great with a newborn. It's great to eat up that panel height, but that's a really short window of time for my 6-month-old baby, for my 1-year-old baby, all of that. I don't really want that deep of a seat. I want put this down at my actual waist, and I did wear a fitted tank top so you can see where my body is. This is a few inches lower. If I was wearing like a 2-year-old, I would go just a smidge lower, kind of right at the top of my hips. All right, and then again, instead of putting baby down here where I was eating up the seat, I'm putting baby just above the waistband and then bringing up that panel. And you can see that you can find your like middle ground that's happy. And there's other adjustments with this carrier would make that I'll talk about in just a second. But so now what was really low on baby's back is actually much higher. But I can make different adjustments. Maybe I went a little too low. Maybe this waistband is a little bit more at my toddler age. And for this age, I want to be back at my natural waist and a little bit more fold over. And that's fine. But what I'm seeing is that a lot of people are suggesting at like 6 or 9 months, you need a deeper seat. Put your waistband right underneath your bust. But you got to remember, you only have this much body above your bust and you're trying to fit baby's whole torso there. You're going to end up in their way, or their panel's going to end up really low on their body. And your straps are going to feel too long. Now, on some carriers, they'll have a PFA right here. And that allows you to adjust your straps more. You can adjust your webbing more. On some carriers, you can't adjust any further, and that's where oftentimes you'll see people cross their straps. It's sort of that workaround if you are eating up panel height, and now the distance for your shoulder straps isn't long enough. But you just need to pay attention to where your waistband is for how old your baby is, because we see a lot of newborns, so you'll see that advice a lot, raise your waistband. But if you're fitting a 3, 6, 9-month-old baby, you probably don't need your waistband at your bust. You need your waistband at your waist. That's where it's designed to fit. If you're wearing a toddler, as I said, I might even come down as low as like the top of my hips because my baby's body is going to be so much bigger and I need to give enough of my torso to use it. All right, so this carrier also, and I didn't do this with my waistband adjustment just for simplicity, it also is going to adjust width-wise, and that will help my baby's fit in addition to height. I love this carrier. I get a really good fit with it. Okay. So for this age baby, my baby's like 9 months oldish, I'm gonna wear at truly my waist, not my hips down here, not my bust up here, just at my waist. And now that I have the right width for my baby, I should get a better fit with my baby. And again, remember doll, not actual baby. All right, let's see where we're at. Oh, I gotta fix their knees. They're not quite as moldable as a real baby. Okay, so now I have my baby. I did my width. I have my waistband at my waist. And you can see my baby has a nice clear airway, but they're also really nicely supported all the way up. So can this carrier really get you a year or two? Totally. Between the adjustments that are already built in, and then some of the manual adjustments we do where we put our waistband a little bit higher at our waist, or like I said, if I'm wearing a toddler, I put my waistband just a little bit lower because otherwise I'm gonna like make out with my kid. So just be thoughtful when we talk about waistband. It's not a bust band, it's a waistband. And then like 90% of wearing, it needs to be at your waist. There are a lot less people in this group who are wearing 2, 3, 4-year-olds who might be like dropping a little bit closer to their hips because of height. And while we do have a ton of people who are wearing newborns, you're only newborn for a really little window, and then you might need to make some other adjustments. So this, you'll notice baby's bum is above my waistband. It's not sagging over. It's not a really deep seat. It's not down there. And my waistband truly is at my waist. And this is a bit of a more shallow seat, but notice that it's not shallow as in baby's on the waistband. It's just not going down here. Okay, then the other thing about buckle carriers that I always like to mention, we have a lot of people who start with a stretchy wrap, which is a super tight wrap. And that's awesome. They're really moldable and comfy, and they're often like a low price point to enter baby wearing. But a buckle carrier is not as tight as a stretchy wrap. So remember that when you do have a carrier, a lot of what we see, and remember this just came out of a box, so it's not going to be quite as moldable, is people will really over tighten. And A, your baby often loses a lot of their seat and they almost look like they're sitting on the waistband. B, their back often divots in versus being that nice C shape. C, you'll notice depending how people have their shoulder straps, when things get over tightened, oftentimes we'll tighten here really tight and suddenly my shoulder strap is in my armpit and it almost feels like it's falling off my shoulders because I've kind of tightened this too much. When we have that really deep seat, we often feel like it's too loose because we've got so much webbing going on, we've got so much loss of things. So on a newborn, on an older kid, it's gonna look different, but just remember that your soft structure carrier is going to be a different fit, and that's okay. It's designed that way, but hopefully that's a little bit helpful. I was trying to explain this in words, but I feel like it can be really hard. So at least I was like fitted shirt, carrier that's not the same color. Maybe you can see what I'm talking about a little bit. But waistband, generally at your waist. Your booty should be in the panel, but for most ages, I don't need it over my waistband. My waistband's all free and clear right here. And then making sure I don't over tighten where I'm going to either make babies concave or convex. I always get it wrong. The wrong direction. And that I haven't over tightened where suddenly I have my straps up in my armpits and winging out where they don't feel secure. But mostly just talking about that waistband. Okay, I'll put some photos in the comments about other people's posts where they show all the adjustments to fit a newborn really well versus an older kid. And that depth versus shallow seat and where it raising your waistband versus when it being at your waist makes sense. But I just think it's really important that normally waistband at waist makes sense and works with a variety of soft structure carriers. So hopefully that helps some folks who are having some fit issues.